Chapter 21. That's great. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Huo Yuhao looked at Beibei in confusion, and Beibei nodded to him awkwardly. Who is Hanyu? Hearing Huo Yuhao's question, Beibei pointed to Hanyu who was standing on the side and introduced, he is Hanyu. We had a fight because of a misunderstanding. Now the misunderstanding has been resolved. Brother Hanyu, his name is Huo Yuhao, and he is also the little brother we just met. Hanyu looked at Huo Yuhao and curled his lips. There was nothing different about him. Apart from his brighter eyes, his appearance was just average, compared with myself. It is simply a world of difference. I don't know why I became a child of luck. Is there no way for plain will to choose someone at will? It's not a joke, but if you choose a normal soul master and add these heaven-defying opportunities, you will be like a pig standing in the wind. Now that Electrolux is away, I want to see what will happen to this so-called son of luck in the end. Seeing Hanyu ignoring Huo Yuhao, Beibei was a little embarrassed and hurriedly explained. Don't mind, Yuhao. Hanyu has just met us, so he might be a little embarrassed. Cut. There was a cold snort, and Beibei's face froze. This little brother Hanyu didn't seem to be easy to get along with. How did he know that Hanyu just didn't know how to talk? Plus he wasn't familiar with her. Moreover, I have rarely communicated with others for 6 years, which is why I am now a little short of words. Huo Yuhao nodded, with no care on his face, and looked at Hanyu with a smile. Hello, my name is Huo Yuhao. This time I came to the Star Do Forest to obtain a soul ring. Facing Huo Yuhao's smiling face, Hanyu couldn't ignore others. My name is Hanyu. He nodded lightly to him as a greeting. TCH. Stinky fart. Tanya didn't know what was going on, but she couldn't help but look at Hanyu's expression. Hey! I finally became a soul master. Huo Yuhao's voice of surprise came, and a circle of bright white soul rings rose from Huo Yuhao's feet, slowly upwards, reaching his head and then slowly moving downwards. In his perception, this soul ring contains 4 soul skills. Seeing the white soul ring, Hanyu's eyes became even more resentful. Spiritual martial spirit. Beibei's face changed slightly, and strange things happened one after another. First, there was the Sharingan that could copy his soul skills, and now there was a spiritual eye that absorbed the soul ring of the wind baboon. Of course, he thought that he had poked his eyeball in his old nest today. Martial arts that he didn't usually see appeared one after another. Tanya couldn't help but said, Xiao Yuhao, is your martial spirit also spiritual? Huo Yuhao came back from his excitement and said, yes. Is there anyone else who also has a spiritual martial spirit? Tanya pursed her lips towards Hanyu. No, he is too, and he is also a great soul master. Huo Yuhao looked at Hanyu in surprise. He didn't expect that someone would be like him. He immediately smiled kindly at Hanyu and couldn't help but feel a little envious in his heart. Hanyu looks about the same age as him, but he is already a great soul master. He is only at the first level now, and he can't help but feel a little depressed. Tanya and Beibei looked at Huo Yuhao's depressed look and looked at each other, not knowing how to comfort him. However, Huo Yuhao soon recovered and buried his depression deep in his heart. Sister Xiaoya, Brother Bei, why are you here? Is there something wrong? Tanya said angrily, I'm not worried about you. You dare to come to the Star Do Forest alone. Speaking of this, he seemed to think of something and complained, except for a certain pervert. We originally planned to help you hunt for the soul ring, but we didn't expect that you had already obtained it. Although the first soul ring is white and not very strong, fortunately it was not harmed. Sister Xiaoya. Huo Yuhao was a little moved after hearing this, and wanted to tell the story about Tianmeng Iceworm, but he seemed to be stopped in the end. Okay, what are your plans next? Tanya didn't notice anything wrong and asked. After obtaining the first soul ring, Huo Yuhao was a little confused and didn't know where to go for a while. Tanya quickly winked at Beibei. Seeing this, Beibei couldn't help but said, Yuhao, who else is there in your family? Huo Yuhao's eyes were gloomy and he shook his head. No, they are all dead. I am the only one left. Tanya's face was filled with ecstasy, and she couldn't help but spit out, that's great. Click. The cold rain on the side did not stop, and accidentally trampled the branches next to it. Looking at Tanya with strange eyes, I really don't know what kind of brain circuit can say such a thing. Beibei was also speechless. She smiled awkwardly at Han Yu and raised her hand to knock Tanya on the head. Why are you talking? Seeing Huo Yuhao's stunned expression, Tanya came to her senses at this time and turned red. Xiao Yuhao, I didn't mean that. What I meant was that since you are alone now, why not join our sect? Zongman. Huo Yuhao was slightly stunned. Judging from his expression, it was obvious that he knew about the existence of the sect. Tanya looked a little proud and said, yes, our sect was once the #1 sect in the mainland, and its unique skills are also famous in the mainland. If you join us, we can take care of each other in the future. And Han Yu, do you want to join the sect? You look like you are alone, Tanya told Huo Yuhao and then said to Han Yu. What is the name of your sect? Although Han Yu knew that they were from the Tang sect, he agreed to the question since they asked him that. Tanya said with a serious face, Tang sect, once the #1 sect on the continent, that when Huo Yuhao heard the name Tang sect, he was shocked. It was obvious that he also knew about the Tang sect. Oh, Han Yu's indifferent voice came, and Tanya and the other two turned their heads to look at Han Yu. Tanya couldn't help but ask, what's your reaction? Aren't you surprised to hear about the Tang sect? Han Yu sneered, what's so surprising? It's just a declining sect, a product of the old times. Such sects are everywhere in history, and the Tang sect is no exception. How can you say that? You should know that our sect has produced gods. Do other sects have gods? Tanya's face turned red when she heard the words, and she retorted unconvincedly. Yes, you are right, and then what? Han Yu's indifferent words directly caused a mental attack on Tanya. Tanya smacked her lips, wanting to refute, but not knowing how to start. She turned to Bei Bei for help. Bei Bei sighed helplessly, and said with a serious face, Brother Han Yu, it is true that the Tang sect has produced gods, and it is also true that the Tang sect has declined, but the Tang sect's unique skills are still there, and I believe that the Tang sect will definitely rise again in the future. Tang sect's unique skills? Han Yu sneered, with your half-baked body skills, you can't even touch me. I really can't imagine how the Tang sect will rise in the future. Hearing this, Tanya clenched her fists and made a creaking sound. It was so infuriating, she couldn't understand why a handsome boy could speak so poisonously, saying things that others didn't like to hear. 3 chapters are updated every day, at 12 a.m., 8 a.m., and 5 p.m., please read, collect, and vote for me. Chapter 22 Illusion Sharingan. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 22 Illusion Sharingan. Bei Bei's mouth twitched when he heard this. He had learned something, he had no choice but to say, that's because I'm not good at learning. It has nothing to do with the technique. Han Yu was silent. He really didn't want to talk to two people pretending to sleep. As far as he knew, the unique skills of the Tang sect in this era were castrated. The effect might not be as good as the original secret technique. Seeing Han Yu silent, Bei Bei Tanya knew that it was hopeless to win over Han Yu for the time being, so she turned to introduce the benefits of the Tang sect to Huo Yuhao. As expected, Huo Yuhao, a young boy who had not experienced much of the world, had no idea of the dangers of society and fell into the trap at once. Then he saw Tanya take out a book with a serious look and handed it to Huo Yuhao. There were 4 big words on it, Shentian Baolu. Along the way, Bei Bei was also teaching Huo Yuhao some key points. Han Yu fell far behind them and looked like he didn't want to listen. Bei Bei smiled with satisfaction when he saw this. What he didn't know was that the so-called ghost shadow, Shentian Gong, and controlling cranes and capturing dragons, etc., had been completely copied by Han Yu just when they were fighting. Only the purple extreme demon eye, a method for training eyes, had not been seen by Han Yu. For the method that could improve mental power, Han Yu was still a little interested in it. He wanted to see if he could copy it and then improve it through the shadow clone. It was called copying, but in fact it was to see through the process of other people's skills through powerful insight, and then learn quickly, and only some relatively basic skills could be copied. Some martial soul bloodline skills could not be copied, such as Bei Bei's dragon transformation and Su Sanchi's black tortoise awakening. However, this was already very powerful. For soul masters who lacked skills, one more skill meant one more strength. At this time, a group of god-eaters and wind baboons appeared again, obviously coming for revenge. but they obviously found the wrong target. God-eaters could only kill gods, not mortals, and were solved by Tang Yi using hidden weapons in a few moves. A red light flashed in Han Yu's eyes in the distance. The so-called hidden weapon technique has been reproduced. With his Sharingan, it will surely play a greater role. After all, Sharingan is an expert in this area. A faint smile appeared at the corner of Han Yu's mouth. Although he didn't get the Tianmeng ice silkworm this time, the harvest was not bad. Not only did he solve his negative state, but he also gained a lot of skills, quite a harvest. Xiaoya, be careful. At this moment, Beibei, as if sensing something, his face suddenly changed. A dark shadow instantly landed. Mandragora snake, that I didn't expect to see 2 god slayers in one day. I really don't know if it's good luck or what. Beibei instantly entered the state of martial spirit possession, turned his head and looked at Hanyu with a serious face. Brother Hanyu, can you lend me a hand? This Mandragora snake is 1,000-year-old level, even I can't deal with it. Fighting alone is definitely no problem, but you may be injured. If you are injured in the Xingdou Great Forest, if a powerful soul beast appears again, it will be dangerous. Reward. Hanyu slowly came to the 3 people and spat out 2 words sparingly. You. Tang Ye's face was furious. Just as she was about to speak, she was stopped by Beibei. How about 2,000 gold soul coins? Hanyu estimated that it was almost enough. If he wanted to fight against a soul master, he would have to spend some effort, but soul beasts? Ha! Okay, Beibei said in a low voice. Xiaoya, protect Yuhao. Brother Hanyu, let's go. At this time, his first soul skill had been lit up, and he was about to rush towards the mandala snake. At this moment, Huo Yuhao's eyes appeared with a light golden light, and a white soul ring rose from his feet. Shared spiritual detection. Beibei and Tangya's bodies shook at the same time. A trace of shock flashed in their eyes, and Hanyu showed a smile at the corner of his mouth. Got it. Under the shared spiritual detection, Hanyu felt as if he had opened a god's perspective, and all the fog around him dissipated. There was no need to use his eyes to see within a range of 30 meters around. Although it is far inferior to the Byakugan, it also has its merits. The scarlet Sharingan flashed, and Hanyu activated the spirit detection sharing on himself. His spirit detection sharing not only has a larger range, but also is clearer. The range actually reached about 150 meters. Hanyu was a little surprised. This was something he didn't expect. Huo Yuhao's range is calculated based on the age of a soul ring, and he naturally calculates it based on the spirit power, so it is not restricted by the soul ring. Maybe one day, it will be able to reach the range of overlooking the Douluo continent. A thought flashed through Han Yu's mind. The eyes looking at Huo Yuhao were slightly friendlier. This is a treasure boy. The million-year soul ring has a total of 4 soul skills: spirit detection, spirit sharing, spirit interference, and spirit attack. In addition to the spirit detection sharing that is useful to him, the other 2 skills are simply dispensable: interference and attack. Is the illusion with the Sharingan useful? It just so happens that I will use this mandala snake in front of me to try the power of illusion. Xiaoya's martial spirit is blue-silver grass, and this mandragora snake is just right for Xiaoya. Brother Hanyu, don't kill her later. Leave a breath for Xiaoya to finish her off. I'll take the lead in a while. You act according to circumstances, and make sure to resolve the battle quickly. Beibei looked serious, staring at the mandragora snake. Hanyu said coldly, it's not that troublesome. I'll do a little bit of work after I get your reward. After the words fell, Beibei felt the figure around him disappear, and a trace of horror appeared in the depths of his eyes. He didn't notice how Hanyu disappeared. Ignoring Beibei, Hanyu appeared in front of the mandragora snake in an instant. The huge snake pupils of the mandragora snake seemed to flash with surprise, as if it didn't expect a human to suddenly appear in front of it, opened its mouth and spit out fragrance. A fishy smell came, and Hanyu frowned. Swoosh. Illusion. Sharingan. The scarlet pupils stared at the mandragora snake, and the Magatama in the eyes spun wildly. The mandragora snake also had 3 Magatama Sharingans in its eyes, and its huge body suddenly stopped moving. Bang! A huge monster was thrown in front of Tangya. It's yours. Ah! Tangya was a little frightened by the sudden appearance of the mandragora snake, and couldn't help but slowly step back a few steps. Bebe quickly came to Tanya's side, with a trace of shock in his eyes. He didn't expect Hanyu to have such a method. With a slightly trembling voice, he looked at the Mandragora snake. Is it controlled by the mind? A cold voice sounded. Hurry up and kill it to absorb the soul ring. It's just a little use of basic mental power. Don't make a fuss. Also, 2,000 gold soul coins. Bebe took out a small bag with a complicated look, handed it to Hanyu, and thanked him. Brother Hanyu, thank you. If it weren't for you, I'm afraid I would have to go through more trouble. The implication was that he could also kill the snake alone, but not as fast as Hanyu. There was a hint of competition in his tone. Hanyu spread his hands indifferently and picked up the small bag of gold soul coins. The money and goods are cleared. I will do it and you pay the reward. It's very simple. No need to thank me. Tanya took out a knife and slashed it. Looking at Hanyu's indifferent look, she wanted to thank him, but she couldn't say it. She couldn't help but curl her lips and sat down to absorb the soul ring. Huo Yuhao on the side was stunned. He didn't expect that the spiritual soul master was so strong. He clearly saw that Hanyu only had 2 rings, but it gave him a feeling that it was obviously stronger than Bebe with 3 soul rings. The shock it brought to him was far greater than the shock of the second soul ring being 1,000 years old. He couldn't help but take a step forward and said hesitantly, Hanyu, brother, did you use a soul skill just now? 3 chapters are updated every day, at 12 a.m., 8 a.m., and 5 p.m., dear readers, please collect and vote. Chapter 23 You Can't Learn It. You are listening at novelfull.audio. At this time, Huo Yuhao was slightly respectful and his face was full of curiosity. Soul skills. That's right. A little bit of superficial use of mental power. Hanyu nodded, not planning to say anything. Even if he said that, Huo Yuhao wouldn't be able to learn, and why should he teach him? Do they have a good relationship? Although his spiritual eyes are also related to mental power, they are obviously more oriented toward assisting and attacking, and his control over mental power is obviously not strong. Otherwise, illusion would have been developed in the original work. Then can I learn? Sorry, Huo Yuhao came to his senses just in the middle of the sentence. It is best not to ask about other people's soul skills. Now he has to learn other people's soul skills. This is already a taboo. It's okay. Even if I tell you, you can't learn it. Although we are both martial souls, we have different characteristics. Your eyes do not belong to the illusion system. Hanyu stared at the scarlet Sharingan and said in an indifferent tone, being stared at by the scarlet Sharingan, a trace of fear flashed through Huo Yuhao's heart. At this moment, the cold rain made him feel like a ferocious beast that chooses people to devour, causing him to stagger back a few steps. When Hanyu saw this, the scarlet color in his eyes disappeared, and a pair of black eyes returned again. She nodded to him, turned around, jumped up to a big tree, and stood there with her eyes closed. Huo Yuhao looked at Hanyu on the tree with some embarrassment, then turned to Bebe, who was protecting Tanya, and whispered, Elder brother, has brother Hanyu always been so indifferent? Hearing this, Hanyu on the tree opened one eye slightly and quickly closed it again. Cut. Bebe also whispered, I don't know either, but I can feel that little brother Hanyu is not such a person, he is just not good at words. I don't know how much time has passed. Successful. Tanya jumped up from the ground excitedly, and 3 soul rings, 2 yellow and 1 purple, rose from under her feet. At this moment, she had obviously reached the soul master level. Thank you, little brother Hanyu. Tanya looked around and saw Hanyu on the tree. With a smile on her face, she thanked Hanyu. It seemed that the advanced soul master put her in a good mood. Just call me Hanyu, don't use the title of little brother. Hanyu's facial muscles twitched slightly and glanced at Tanya. Tanya seemed to have discovered some secret. With a strange smile on her face, she discovered that Hanyu was not as unkind as he thought, and was even a little cute, otherwise he wouldn't have cared about being called little brother. Hanyu swayed slightly and came to the 3 of them. He said coldly, now that the soul ring has been absorbed, let's leave quickly, just in time to see what the first college in the mainland is like. Tanya nodded, glanced at Han Yu thoughtfully, turned to Beibei and Huo Yuhao and said, let's go. After an hour, Huo Yuhao is grilling fish and Beibei is catching fish, Han Yu is eating fish, Tanya slept aside after eating, Han Yu practiced on the tree, Beibei guided Huo Yuhao to practice Shantian Baolu, time passed quickly, and in the blink of an eye, it was the next day, and a touch of fish belly white appeared in the sky, a faint purple aura appeared, and the three of them stared closely at the purple aura in the sky. At this moment, a flash of scarlet flashed across Han Yu's eyes. The method of spiritual cultivation seems very rough and needs improvement. When you get to Shrek Academy, use the shadow clone to study it. Feeling the operation of the purple demon eyes in his mind, Han Yu grinned. Hey! Han Yu! What are you thinking about? You're smiling so strangely. Tanya's clear voice sounded, and her big eyes curiously looked at the cold rain on the tree. Han Yu's grinning lips slowly closed. It's nothing, I just remembered something funny. If there's nothing else, let's continue on our way. After stopping Tanya who wanted to ask more questions, Han Yu jumped up and walked towards the outskirts of the Star Doe forest. What the hell? Tanya kicked the weeds aside and muttered dissatisfiedly. Okay, Xiaoya, brother Han Yu obviously doesn't want to say anything. If you ask like that, they definitely don't want to talk to you. Beibei stood up and said helplessly. Tanya glared at Beibei and whispered to the two of them, Beibei, Xiao Yuhao, let me tell you, I found that Han Yu was not what we saw at all, I found him. Until Tanya finished speaking, Beibei and Huo Yuhao had strange expressions on their faces. Beibei couldn't help but said, no way, brother Han Yu is actually such a person, the legendary Tsundra. The voice was not loud, but not quiet either. Han Yu, who was walking in front, paused for a moment, and the muscles on his expressionless face twitched slightly. I just don't want to talk to you. I didn't expect you to misunderstand me. How could I be at Tsundra? That a thought flashed through Han Yu's mind, and she thought with some disdain. Shrek Academy is located in the southeastern part of the Tianhun Empire. Along the way, Tanya introduced the history of Shrek Academy to Han Yu and Huo Yuhao, what characters it has produced, and why they are so awesome. Those who can graduate from Shrek Academy are all geniuses and some ideas. Han Yu didn't comment on this, he just believed what he saw. If Shrek could train him with level 5.5 innate soul power to his current soul power, he would agree with it. If not, it's just for fame and reputation. If it really seems that the so-called #1 academy in the mainland is retained by screening the students' qualifications, then Shrek doesn't have to wait. He has not seen it with his own eyes, so no matter how wonderful you talk, he will not believe it. He has eaten too much pancake and is already full, just like a leader in his previous life told him, work hard, and after you make achievements, you will be promoted to team leader, and your salary will increase by 300. Enough, really enough. He saw with his own eyes a colleague with not so good performance, sitting on the team leader position promised by the leader, and later found out that he was a relative of a certain leader. After rushing on the road, after a few hours, Shrek Academy finally appeared in Han Yu's eyes. In his eyes, it is better to say that it is a city than an academy, and its characteristic is that the city wall is very thick, almost like Debussy. Han Yu and Huo Yuhao were caught outside the east gate under the leadership of Tanya and Beibei. Brother Han Yu, Yuhao, and you just caught up with the academy to recruit new students this time, 3 years lower than Xiaoya and me. We will be your seniors in the future. Beibei said with a smile. Han Yu glanced at Beibei. I don't necessarily want to join Shrek Academy. I'll enroll first and see. If it's not what I thought, I'll drop out. Beibei's smile suddenly stopped, and he said awkwardly but politely, you'll like it here. Wait, I'll help you get the qualification for the assessment. After Beibei finished speaking, he walked inside, obviously going to get a recommendation letter for Han Yu. At the east gate, many new students were already signing up, and several students in yellow school uniforms looked at Beibei and immediately greeted him, Brother Bei, you're back. It seems that Beibei has a good reputation in the outer courtyard and is also very popular. 3 chapters are updated every day, at 12 a.m., 8 a.m., and 5 p.m. Please read, collect, and vote for me, everyone. Chapter 24 Teacher. Shrek's walls are really thick. You are listening at novelfull.audio. I saw him walking to the assessment teacher and whispering something, and then the assessment teacher nodded and looked in the direction of Hanyu. Soon Bebe came back with a smile on his face. Brother Hanyu, I have already said hello to the assessment teacher, you can take the assessment now. Hanyu was silent. It seemed that Bebe had gone through the back door and used his connections. Hanyu glanced at Huo Yuhao and strode forward. Unlike Huo Yuhao had a letter of recommendation from the Tang sect and was admitted directly without taking the exam. He has to take the assessment, but it doesn't matter to him. He believes that with his soul power, he should easily pass this test. Arriving at Bebe's place just now, the assessment teacher looked at Hanyu with a smile on his face and said, "Your name is Hanyu, right? Bebe has already told me, so I can give you an assessment qualification. Now show your soul ring and extend your right hand." Hanyu nodded, and 2 soul rings, one yellow and one purple, rose from his feet. Wow! The second ring of the millennium, where did this monster come from? It's so terrifying, that the new student who had just completed the assessment on the side exclaimed, his tone full of shock. Not only him, but the second and third grade students around him who were responsible for maintaining order were also looking at Hanyu, a freshman, with shock. The concerns of those senior students are different. Wow! The new junior is so handsome. He has a knife on his back and a cool expression. I think he's even more handsome than senior Bebe. What do you think? A second-year senior wearing a yellow uniform stood beside him. He said to the female student on the side. Another female student had a few freckles on her face and looked a bit kawaii. She also looked surprised at this time. This junior is indeed handsome, but I still think senior Bebe is more attractive. I still like the older one, more mature. TCH, I still like this junior better, he looks so good. Hey, pick it up, your mouth is almost watering. Could it be that spring has come for you? The freckled female student said with a look of disgust, feeling ashamed to have such a friend. It seems that Brother Hanyu is very popular. Bebe stood next to Tanya and said with a smile on his face. TSK, superficial. Tanya muttered from the side. No matter what others thought, the assessment teacher was also surprised. He didn't expect that the student in front of him gave him such a surprise. Originally, he just gave him an assessment opportunity for Bebe's sake. Unexpectedly, he caught a big fish. He stretched out his hand, touched Hanyu's hand, smiled and nodded. You are of the right age, let me test your soul power. Then the assessment teacher took out a soul power crystal ball and motioned Hanyu to put it on it. A faint light shone, and soon it stayed at level 29. Soul power level 29, you passed. Came the surprise words of the assessment teacher. Then he took out a registration form and motioned Hanyu to fill it out. Hanyu picked it up and looked at it. There was a very simple information directory on it. I took a quick look at my age, martial soul, and soul power level, and filled in my basic information. After the registration was completed, Bebe and Tanya walked into Shrek Academy with Hanyu and Huo Yuhao. The construction of Shrek Academy is relatively beautiful, with 10 huge statues standing on the square. Hanyu stared closely at the statue of a man with long blue hair. An inexplicable smile flashed across his lips. At this time, Tanya saw Hanyu staring at Tang San's statue, and couldn't help but said with some pride, "That is the founder of our Tang sect, the ancestor of Tang San. His martial spirit is also blue silver grass, and he has now ascended to godhood." After saying that, his face looked a little sad. Although my martial spirit is also blue silver grass, it is indeed not as good as Tang San's ancestors. Tang San's martial spirit, who told you it's from Lan Yin Chao? The faint voice came, instantly attracting Bebe, Tanya and Huo Yuhao. Historical records record it, and it is also spread like this in our Tang sect. It is well known that the first-generation master Yu Shaojiang personally trained the recognized blue silver grass soul master to become a god. Tanya said with some confusion, looking at Hanyu in surprise, as if she didn't understand that Hanyu didn't even know this common sense. Everyone knows. Hee. Hanyu sneered, since they are all blue silver grass. Tanya, why is your blue silver grass so rubbish, but your so-called Tang San ancestor can become a god? Don't tell me that you didn't work hard enough. You have practiced Shen Tian Baolu, and so has Tang San. You are both blue silver grass, and you are also studying at Shrek Academy. Yu Xiaojiang said that there are no useless martial spirits, only useless soul masters. Excuse me, which point do you have? Tanya's face turned red and she opened her mouth. She was speechless for a moment and didn't know how to refute. Do you admit that you don't work hard enough? In fact, he works harder than anyone else, invisible to others. Do you admit that you are a waste? I am not as good as Tang San's ancestors. Tanya was silent for a moment and could only say this. At this time, Bebe also opened her mouth to console her, saying, for ancestor Tang San, being taught by Master Yu Xiaojiang himself will definitely be much better than Xiaoya studying alone in the academy. It is normal for him not to be as good as ancestor Tang San. Really? Then let me ask you, generally speaking, blue-silver grass is a waste of martial souls. You can already feel that your cultivation speed has dropped, right? And the further back you go, the slower the improvement. One day, your soul power will stagnate. Han Yu's faint words completely broke Tanya's heart. Tanya's eyes were slightly red, and her voice was slightly trembling. How did you know? Bei also looked incredulous, looking at Tanya and asked, Xiaoya, is what Han Yu said true? Your cultivation speed has decreased. Tanya nodded slowly, sobbing slightly. Bei, Han Yu is right, my cultivation speed is indeed declining. I estimate that after reaching the Soul Sect, the speed will drop to a very slow level, and may finally stop at the Soul King. Why is my blue-silver grass like this? How did Tang San's ancestors cultivate to the title Douluo? They all had blue-silver grass. Why is the gap so big? Am I not working hard enough? But I obviously didn't slack off at all. Except for going out with you, I stayed in the dormitory to practice. Why is this? At the end, Tanya couldn't help it and threw herself into Bei's arms and burst into tears. Bei patted Tanya's back gently, turned to look at Han Yu. Brother Han Yu, it seems that you know something, even Xiaoya's cultivation speed has slowed down. Han Yu glanced at Tanya who was crying, and said, it's not that I know something, this is common sense. Blue-silver grass is recognized as a useless martial spirit. Have you seen other blue-silver grass spirit masters who have cultivated to a high level except Tang San? Bei shook his head and said unwillingly, but Tang San's ancestor. 3 chapters are updated every day, at 12 a.m., 8 a.m., and 5 p.m., please read, collect, and vote. Chapter 25 He is not the so-called blue-silver grass at all. You are listening at novelfull.audio. He is not the so-called blue-silver grass at all, but the blue-silver emperor, the top plant martial spirit. You have all been deceived by the so-called historical data. There are no useless martial souls, only useless soul masters. Bei, do you believe this? If I give you a blue-silver grass martial soul with half-level innate soul power, and you can cultivate to a title Douluo, show me. Don't talk about title Douluo. If you can cultivate to soul master, I will consider you to be powerful. This. Lies won't hurt, the truth is the sharpest knife. This sentence left Bei speechless. His innate soul power was not low, and his cultivation speed was naturally not slow either. He was only a soul master now. If he is really given a blue-silver grass martial spirit, at his age, it is a question whether a soul master can achieve it, let alone a soul master. Wu. Tanya cried even more sadly when she heard this, and her tears quickly wet Bei's clothes. Bei, what should I do? Oh. Bei's face was ugly. If it was like what Han Yu said, then Xiaoya would probably not be able to break through the Soul King. For Tanya, who was responsible for revitalizing the Tang sect, it could be described as a bolt from the blue. Brother Han Yu, what can you do? Since you can know such secret information, you must have a solution. Please tell me, I am willing to pay any price. Bei asked with a glimmer of hope, although he knew the possibility was slim. Is there any way? It's not that there's no way, it's just that you can't do it. Han Yu glanced at Huo Yuhao, who was also shocked, and said slowly. Any solution? Bei's eyes lit up. As long as there was a solution, there would be hope for Xiaoya. As long as you can find a 100,000-year-old blue silver emperor, let Tanya absorb the soul ring and soul bone, and help her spirit evolve into the blue silver emperor, then the problem will naturally be solved. Hanyu didn't care at all about telling Bebe this method, let alone whether Bebe had the strength to do it. Even if there is, the blue silver emperor is not on this continent, so there is little hope. Bebe was shocked when he heard this, lowered his head and said to Tanya, Xiaoya, I will definitely find the blue silver emperor's soul ring and soul bone for you, no matter what the cost. Do you believe me? Tanya's crying finally stopped and she nodded in surprise. I believe you. Bebe. A smile appeared on Bebe's face. Although there was little hope, at least there was a way. Brother Hanyu, I owe you a favor. In the future, I am willing to do something for you as long as it does not violate my principles. Hanyu waved his hand indifferently. Let's talk about it later. Tanya and Bebe's expressions softened slightly, and there were more smiles on their faces. They took Huo Yuhao and Hanyu around Shrek Academy. It wasn't until there was a notice that Bebe and Tanya stopped. It says, the head teacher of the first class of freshmen, Zhou Yi. Hanyu narrowed his eyes slightly and appeared, Shrek's teacher with the highest admission rate. Unfortunately, he happened to be in this class. Ah, why is it Zhou Yi's old aunt, Hanyu, Yuhao, you are in such a miserable state? Tanya regained her off-the-line personality and shouted from the sidelines. Huo Yuhao was so frightened that his heart trembled, and a trace of fear flashed in his eyes. Sister Xiaoya, what's wrong? Is this teacher scary? Bebe smiled bitterly when he heard this and said, Teacher Zhou is very strict in teaching, which leads to a high rate of her students entering higher education. However, relatively, there are very few staff. She should have been reported and transferred to the first grade now. Huo Yuhao's eyes panicked. If he looked at it this way, he was going to be kicked out. He couldn't help asking, Senior brother, if this teacher does this, the college won't care. When Bebe heard this, she waved her hand and motioned for a few people to come over and said, although teacher Zhou Yi is strict, her data is the best, and she has the highest admission rate among all teachers. In the class she leads, at least 5 out of 10 people can be promoted to the next level, so the college doesn't care at all. Huo Yuhao breathed a sigh of relief when he heard this. Hanyu looked at him strangely, wondering why you were relieved. You must know that students like you are the first to be eliminated. However, Hanyu did not remind him aloud. You have to suffer some hardships before you regret it. He wanted to see the level of this so-called strict teacher and just treat it as a joke. It should be fun. After opening the 3 Magatama, Hanyu's mentality also changed slightly, especially after the battle with Bebe. The self-confidence in his heart has also become stronger. In the past, when fighting with Du Busho, he was always beaten to the point of losing his temper. Now he has finally regained his self-confidence with Bebe, so he's not very good at it, is he? Beating Bebe was like chopping melons and vegetables, and he hadn't cast any illusions yet. Spiritual soul masters are great weapons in Douluo continent, and they only need to be glared at. Once the illusion is used, the Soul Emperor will probably suffer a loss, but this is a trump card and should not be used lightly. Normally sword skills are his most commonly used moves, and he will also develop these moves for Chidori Ryu as soon as possible. The reason why development was slow in the past was because it was difficult to get started. Now that you have mastered the method, the subsequent derived ninjutsu will be relatively simple. Coupled with the blessing of the development speed of Thunder attribute soul skills, it is difficult to slow down the speed. The teacher is not around now. I am just an ordinary student. It is better to keep a low profile. Hanyu secretly thought. Farewell to Bebe and Tanya. Hanyu and Huo Yuhao walked towards the freshman dormitory together. The freshman dormitory is highly recognizable because it is white, so Hanyu and Huo Yuhao found it quickly. When I came to the door, there was an old-looking old man sitting here, lying on a chair. This should be Dragon God Douluo, Moon. Hanyu glanced at it and thought to himself. Huo Yuhao stepped forward, pointed at Hanyu, and said respectfully, Hello, Grandpa, we are freshmen. Do you want to check the freshman badges? Moon's deep voice sounded. Bring it to me and see. Huo Yuhao hurriedly handed it over, and Hanyu looked at his freshman badge and handed it over. Moon glanced at it and said, You guys have 108 and 109 next to each other. It's the third and fourth room on the left on the first floor. Thank you, let's go, Brother Hanyu, you should be number 109, I am number 108. Huo Yuhao bowed to Muan, then turned to Hanyu and said, Hanyu nodded to Mun, and then the two of them walked into the dormitory. Moon was still lying on the chair motionless, saying, a polite child, the other child is actually interesting. The two quickly arrived at the door of their respective dormitories. Huo Yuhao said hello and went in to tidy up. Hanyu opened the dormitory door, and a gust of turbid air came out, and the smell inside was a bit unpleasant. Hanyu frowned slightly. There were two small beds in the dormitory, and it was obvious that the other roommate had not arrived. He had no intention of cleaning alone. He picked up the bedding he bought from the storage soul guide, randomly selected a bed, and cleaned it carefully. Yo! I didn't expect my roommate to come before me. Hey, brother, you might as well help me clean up. I still have something to do, young master. I will protect you if anything happens in Shrek Academy from now on. At this moment, a somewhat sturdy figure appeared in Han Yu's field of vision. 5 chapters updated today. Everyone, please read it, collect it, vote for it. Chapter 26. The 9 Vajras appear. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Judging from his attire, he was also one of the freshmen. With a hint of pride on his face, he was pointing at another bed and talking to Hanyu. Hanyu ignored him and continued to make his own bed. Feeling ignored, the sturdy student blushed slightly and said angrily, Hey, boy, are you deaf? You dare not listen to what I, Tailong, say. Do you know who I am? Tailong. 9 King Kong. Hearing this, Hanyu's eyes flashed with interest, and he stood up and looked at the student in front of him carefully. He looked ordinary, silly, and had a strong body, but his eyes were not good. Humph. Now you know who I am. If you know what's good for you, clean up for me, otherwise I will. Seeing that Hanyu finally responded to his name, Tai Long's face was full of pride, but he hadn't finished speaking. Bang. The dormitory door, which was already broken, was hit by a huge object, and it fell down with a clang. There was a loud bang when it hit the door. Ahem. Damn it. You actually hit me. If I don't teach you a lesson, you don't know how many eyes the Horse King has. A cursing voice sounded. Tailong's face was angry, and he struggled to get up. Swish. Before he could react, a pair of scarlet eyes appeared in his eyes, and a cold, evil breath kept hitting him. I'll give you an illusion to try. A low murmur sounded. Tailong's body trembled, and the whole person sat on the ground in an instant. The cold sweat on his forehead dripped uncontrollably, and his eyes were full of fear. In his eyes, Hanyu suddenly turned into a monster, staring at him ferociously. You, what kind of monster are you? Don't kill me, I was wrong, I was wrong. Tailong's face was pale, his lips trembled, and his whole body was trembling. As he spoke, he moved his buttocks and kept moving away from Hanyu. Brother Hanyu, what happened? Just then, Huo Yuhao next door heard the noise, poked his head out from the side, and saw this scene. What are you doing? Hanyu ignored him and slowly walked towards Tai Long. Tai Long's body couldn't stop shaking. Don't come over. While saying this, he squirmed backwards with all his strength, as if he saw his natural enemy in fear. Hygiene, leave it to you, I'm going out to eat. If I don't clean up when I come back, you will die. The scarlet Sharingan stared at Tai Long, and a cold voice sounded. Hanyu patted his shoulder, making him shudder. I know, I will finish it. Tai Long responded tremblingly, while getting up, picking up the broom and starting to clean. Also, find someone to fix the door. Let's go out to eat. Hanyu greeted Huo Yuhao and left the dormitory first. Huo Yuhao looked at Tai Long with sympathy. He knew that Tai Long should be under an illusion, just like the Mandragora snake. Ignoring him, he followed Hanyu out of the dormitory. Brother Hanyu, you should be in the same dormitory, right? You had a conflict when you first met. If you do this, you might get expelled. Huo Yuhao looked at Hanyu cautiously and reminded him. There's nothing wrong with that. You have to know that strength is respected in Douluo continent. If you want others to respect you, you have to show your strength. Han Yu shook his head and ignored Huo Yuhao, and walked towards the cafeteria first. Huo Yuhao behind him had a glimmer of sadness in his eyes. Strength? How do you, who are talented, know my situation? If I had it too. Huo Yuhao's mind flashed the scene of the White Tiger Duke, and a trace of hatred could not help but show in his eyes. The cafeteria was just behind the dormitory, and Han Yu arrived at the cafeteria soon. He frowned at the scene in front of him, but he didn't expect that there were really no seats. Do you really have to eat standing up? There were already quite a few people squatting around, standing or squatting, eating fiercely. Han Yu came to the leftmost window and ordered 3 servings of food. Through body training over the years, his appetite has increased a lot, slightly larger than that of ordinary people. Huo Yuhao went to the cheapest window to get a meal, glanced at Han Yu, a trace of envy flashed in his eyes, then squatted in a corner and ate silently. Han Yu ignored him. He was not familiar with him, and everyone had their own way of life. He could not control it. In terms of eating, Han Yu never harshly treated himself. For soul masters, health is very important. By the way, I have to find a way to make money. The teacher left but didn't give me a penny. I don't know if he forgot or... Looking at the meal in his hand that cost dozens of gold soul coins, Han Yu frowned. Fortunately, there was a reward from Bebe, otherwise he might be worse than Huo Yuhao. He took out the small table that had been prepared long ago, threw it aside, put the food on it and started eating. Who is this? Do you bring your own table to eat? A freshman who was squatting to eat said to the student who also looked like a freshman while eating. Who knows? Shrek Academy has a rule that food cannot be taken out. This student must have prepared it. Who cares? Let's eat quickly and then go for a stroll in Shrek Academy. A hint of surprise flashed in Huo Yuhao's eyes, and then a hint of inferiority flashed in his eyes. He envied Han Yu's lifestyle. One day, he will also stand in front of everyone and let others talk about him. Hey, kid, you look like a freshman, right? Let's make a deal and give me your table. At this moment, a somewhat low voice sounded. Han Yu looked up and saw a tall boy in front of him, looking at him with a haughty face. It was a handsome and cold face, with double pupils in his eyes and long golden hair parted from the top of his head. He was followed by a girl, whose figure was full of fruits, which made Han Yu couldn't help but look at him twice more. Get lost. Han Yu frowned slightly, feeling a little unhappy that his meal was disturbed. He raised his head and stared at the boy. This should be Dai Huabin, with double pupils in his eyes. Huo Yuhao in the corner trembled violently and glanced at this side with the corner of his eye. What did you say? Dai Huabin's voice rose a few degrees, as if he didn't expect that the man in front of him would tell him to get lost. No one dared to talk to him like this since he was a child. The table is mine, I won't give it to you. Besides, I say, get out. Did you hear that clearly? Han Yu's somewhat impatient voice sounded again. This disregarding words completely angered the arrogant Dai Huabin. You are very good. Even my father has never said this to me since I was a child. How dare you say such arrogant words? Dai Huabin was immediately furious and slapped the table with both hands. The powerful force caused the table to crack directly and the food to spill all over the floor. Han Yu frowned and looked at the spilled food with some regret. He spent dozens of gold coins to buy this, so he couldn't just let it go. I don't have a son as old as you. Also, you have to pay me double for the table and food. Dai Huabin was stunned at first, and then reacted. How dare you be my father? My son, be good. You are looking for death. Dai Huabin shouted angrily, turned his fist into a palm, and hit Han Yu directly on the head. A trace of disdain flashed across Han Yu's lips, and he twisted his body slightly to the left, dodging the powerful palm. The palm missed, and Dai Huabin staggered, and walked forward a few steps due to inertia. Bang! Han Yu kicked out with his right foot instantly, hitting the bull's eye. Ha! Who is this? He fell flat on his face, and now he is so embarrassed. Shoo, don't talk nonsense, this is a rare soul master among the freshmen. If he hears you, you will suffer. The freshmen who were watching the excitement whispered and discussed quietly. What they thought was a low voice was heard by Dai Huabin without missing a word. Dai Huabin widened his eyes, his face flushed, and he suddenly got up and roared angrily. Boy, I want you to die, the white tiger is possessed. Dai Huabin couldn't help it, his palms turned into tiger claws, a word of king appeared on his forehead, and his skin was covered with black and white stripes, 3 soul rings, 2 yellow and 1 purple, appeared. It turns out to be a kitten with such a bad temper. Point 5 chapters updated today, please read, collect and vote. Chapter 27 Let's immerse ourselves in the Sharingan's illusion. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Han Yu said lightly, and the scarlet Sharingan appeared instantly, and 2 soul rings, 1 yellow and 1 purple, rose from under his feet. His right hand pulled out the katana from behind his back, and a cold light flashed, swoosh. Dai Huabin roared, waved a pair of tiger claws, and rushed towards Han Yu. Easy. As if the sound of birds rang out, a large amount of lightning filled the katana, adding a sharpness out of thin air. The tip of the knife was raised horizontally, aiming at Dai Huabin. Sidori blade. A large amount of soul power was poured in, and the tip of the katana suddenly stretched out, just colliding with Dai Huabin who was rushing over. Puff, that the sound of flesh piercing sounded, and Dai Huabin didn't seem to expect that Han Yu's knife could also lengthen, and was instantly pierced through. What is that? A soul guide? A freshman stared at the suddenly stretched katana with wide eyes. It seems so. According to what my elder said, this should be a melee soul guide. A student wearing glasses held up the frame of his glasses with his hands, looking like he had seen through everything. Brother, is it true? Are soul guides so powerful? Of course it's true. Can I lie? The student wearing glasses said seriously. But in Shrek Academy, truly powerful students will not use external objects such as soul guides. Swish. Han Yu pulled the sword back slightly, and a stream of blood flowed out along the sword, floating in the air. Ah! Dai Huabin screamed. Huabin. Are you okay? Zhu Lu, who was standing by, hurriedly supported Dai Huabin and looked at Han Yu with hatred. Ahem. I accidentally fell into his trap. Get out of the way. I'm going to deal with him. I was careless just now. Dai Huabin tore a piece of white cloth and directly blocked the wound, then he looked at Han Yu fiercely. Boy, you succeeded in angering me. Next, I want you dead. White Tiger Vajra transformation. As Dai Huabin's third soul ring lit up, his muscles swelled and the stripes on his skin became clearer. Boring. A thick-skinned warrior. Han Yu sneered, and his body flashed in front of Dai Huabin. The scarlet 3-Magatama Sharingan rotated rapidly, and Dai Huabin subconsciously looked at him. Swish. Illusion. Sharingan. Immerse in the illusion of Sharingan. Muttered in a low voice. A trace of confusion flashed in Dai Huabin's eyes, and then the scene changed. White Tiger Duke's mansion. At this time, there were several people standing in the hall. Dai Hao looked at Dai Huabin with indifference and said in a cold voice, Huabin, you failed. Your elder brother will inherit the title from now on. From now on, you will manage the family affairs. Dai Huabin looked panicked. No, father, give me another chance. I will definitely be able to defeat my elder brother, please. He. My stupid brother, you have provoked too many enemies for the family, you have failed. Dai Yuhan looked at Dai Huabin with a grim smile, with a strong sarcasm on his face. Come on, take him away. Dai Huabin provoked the strong and created a huge disaster. He has already died. First, abolish his cultivation, and then send him to the border to end his life. Dai Hao said with indifference. Soon, 2 soul masters who looked like servants came and said with a grim smile, Second young master, don't blame us. If you want to blame yourself for being arrogant and provoking the strong. We will be gentler. One of the servants poked him with his hand. Ah. No, I was wrong, father, I was wrong. A scream rang out. The scene changed. Dai Huabin, who had come to his senses, was sweating and pale, and kept shouting, No, I was wrong, and so on. Huabin. Huabin, what's wrong with you? Zhu Lu's somewhat worried voice rang out, and Dai Huabin gradually came to his senses. I'm fine. My cultivation is still there. I'm fine. My cultivation is still there. I'm fine. My cultivation is still there. Dai Huabin's eyes were dull, and he kept holding Zhu Lu's arm tightly. This? Isn't he stupid? The glasses student looked at the expressionless Han Yu with some fear, and his voice trembled. Don't look, didn't you see Dai Huabin was glared at by that murderer, and he became like this? Now his mind is a little abnormal, this person is not someone we can look at. A student around swallowed his saliva and spoke with some difficulty, the look he gave Han Yu was like looking at a monster. What did you do to him? How did Huabin become like this? Zhu Lu looked at Han Yu with some fear, and asked in a trembling voice. I didn't do anything. I just let him face the thing he fears most. This time I taught him a lesson and told him not to be so arrogant next time, otherwise the end will not be like this. In addition, after he wakes up, he will compensate me with 2,000 gold soul coins, and this matter will be settled, otherwise. Hee. After Han Yu finished speaking, he turned around and left the cafeteria. When he encountered such a thing, his appetite was gone all of a sudden. Who is arrogant? Fuck, he will be my big brother from now on. Who has the information of this freshman? I want to pay my respects. Wow. The freshmen watching the scene were immediately furious. The arrogant person said that others were arrogant, then suppressed them, and asked them to pay money. This big melon made everyone very excited, and soon this matter spread rapidly in the outer courtyard at a lightning speed. Hey! I'm telling you, don't tell anyone else that I said it. I heard that a freshman appeared in the cafeteria and glared at Dai Huabin, and Dai Huabin fell down. Did you hear that? Something strange happened in the cafeteria. A monster with red eyes glared at Dai Huabin, and Dai Huabin became incontinent. You're wrong, right? I heard that the red-eyed monster glared at Dai Huabin and Dai Huabin became pregnant, and she was shouting no. What you said is wrong, I heard. Illusion is pretty useful. Face the fear in your heart. What will happen if Huo Yuhao does it? Han Yu walked while thinking about Dai Huabin's reaction just now, and soon returned to the dormitory, seeing the newly replaced door and the tidy dormitory. He nodded with satisfaction. Tailong stood aside with a trembling face, his body stood straight, and said with a flattering smile, Boss, are you satisfied? Not bad. The work is okay. You go and do your own thing, I want to practice. Tailong breathed a sigh of relief. He swore that he had never been so serious since he was a child. Fortunately, he finally passed the test. He immediately bowed and left the dormitory, and ran out without looking back, as if there was a ferocious beast inside. Han Yu couldn't help but touch his nose, took out the mirror, looked carefully for a while, and said to himself, Am I so scary? My face is not ferocious, why are you so afraid of me? I don't eat people. It seems that ordinary people really can't bear the illusion of the Sharingan. After all, this is the Sharingan that is said to be a must-escape in a one-on-one fight. Han Yu sighed and locked the door. It seems that Tailong will not come back for a while. Bang! A burst of smoke flashed. 2 shadow clones that look exactly like Han Yu appeared in the dormitory. Number 1, you study the purple demon eye. Number 2, you continue to study Chidori. I will practice soul power. Yes, original body. That the 2 clones found a place to sit down and began to study. After the division of labor, Han Yu sat cross-legged and soon entered into a state of meditation. Soul power can only be cultivated by oneself, and shadow clones cannot cultivate. Time passed slowly, and I don't know how long it has been. Do you accept it? A low roar came, awakening Han Yu, who was practicing. 5 chapters were updated today. Please read, collect, and vote. Chapter 28 Tailong Self-Narration. I am so stupid. You are listening at novelfull.audio. A scarlet light flashed, and the mental detection was turned on. The scene within a radius of 150 meters clearly appeared in my mind. The scene in front of him surprised him slightly. As soon as he opened his eyes, he saw a famous scene. Huo Yuhao was pressing on Wang Dong and growling. Han Yu smiled slightly. Interesting. Then don't worry, just keep practicing. Cultivation takes no time, ahem. In a blink of an eye, it's time for classes to start. After adjusting her hair and tying the sword behind her back, Han Yu walked out of the dormitory door. It is worth mentioning that Tailong has never come back since he left, and he doesn't know where to live. This makes him happy and free. He doesn't like living with two people in the first place, so it is better this way. While humming an unknown song, Han Yu slowly walked towards the classroom. Han Yu was in a good mood today. The two clones have made breakthroughs in Qiandori and ZG Demon Eyes, and the results will be available soon. People are in high spirits during happy events. As he blends into the crowd, Han Yu gradually talks more. Pushing open the classroom door, Han Yu walked in calmly, then he walked to the very back and sat down by the window, quietly waiting for the first lesson in this life. With his arrival, the already noisy atmosphere in the classroom became even more noisy. Wow, look, who is he? He seems to be a new student, so handsome. A pretty girl whispered. I didn't expect there was someone more handsome than Wang Dong. I like him so much. A female student next to her seemed to have stars twinkling in her eyes. What are you talking about? How is he more handsome than Wang Dong? The girl next door heard this and immediately interrupted unconvinced. Humph. Wang Dong looks a bit effeminate, not as elegant as that handsome guy. The pretty girl just retorted immediately. At this time, Huo Yuhao arrived belatedly. As he arrived, an old woman walked in at the classroom door. Seeing the teacher coming, the whole classroom suddenly became quiet. My name is Zhou Yi, and I will be your class teacher for the next year. In my class, it is impossible for any rubbish to pass the examination. What I want to cultivate are monsters, not idiots. After the old woman finished speaking, she looked around the classroom with sharp eyes. The strong pressure made the surrounding students breathless. It seems that the netizens did not lie. Han Yu sneered. After witnessing this scene with his own eyes, Han Yu had the idea of changing classes, but he took his time and took a look at the teacher's methods. In the past few days, everyone who has fought has stood up. Zhou Yi's next sentence shocked the whole class again. Silence. As a student, there will be no conflicts at the beginning of school, so there will be few fights, but Han Yu was no exception. He was forced to fight, but it was considered a fight, so he slowly stood up. Huo Yuhao also stood up immediately, looking like a good student. Seeing Huo Yuhao stand up, Wang Dong was not to be outdone and stood up immediately. There were only 3 people in the class of 100 who stood up, and they suddenly became the center of attention. Wow! Do handsome people like to fight? No. Isn't it because I don't like fighting that I'm not handsome enough? A male student murmured to himself. Only 3. Zhou Yi raised his eyebrows and said mockingly, what a bunch of trash. Don't you know what it means to be mediocre if you don't dare to mess with them? Except for the 3 of them, all of you will run 100 laps around Shrek Square for me. Those who cannot finish the race will be fired immediately. As Zhou Yi finished speaking, the whole class was in an uproar. Teacher Zhou, right? What does it mean to be mediocre if you don't dare to cause trouble? A faint voice clearly reached everyone's ears. I know you, Han Yu. Since you want to know what it is, you are mediocre if you dare not cause trouble. I will tell you. Zhou Yi raised her eyebrows. For a good student, her tone was not so harsh. In her eyes, Han Yu is a good student, with a soul power as high as level 29, and the student with the highest soul power in the entire class. A soul master doesn't even dare to cause trouble, which shows that he doesn't have the courage to become a strong man. What is it if he isn't mediocre? Classmate Han Yu, do you agree? Zhou Yi said coldly. Han Yu didn't answer, and looked around, finally finding Tailong in a corner who could reduce his presence. Tailong, come and tell Teacher Zhou, what will be the consequences after causing trouble. Tailong was called by Han Yu, and his body trembled subconsciously, a little afraid to look at Han Yu. An invisible wave enveloped Tailong. The sound was very soft, but it sounded like thunder in Tai Long's ears. He was startled and stood up in an instant, attracting the attention of the whole class. There was also a flash of surprise in Zhou Yi's eyes. Han Yu did not answer her words, but asked Tailong to answer. "Tairen, if you have anything to say, just say it," Zhou Yi said calmly. Tailong said with some trepidation, "Tell Teacher Zhou, after I signed up, I came to the dormitory, and then I had a conflict with the boss Han Yu. The boss beat me up, and I never dared to go back to the dormitory. It's miserable." Finally, Tailong glanced at Han Yu with some fear and added the last sentence. "Boss Han Yu is very powerful. When I provoked him, he beat me up and made me clean the entire dormitory. But I don't resent it. I only blame my own lack of strength. I just regret that I provoked him. I didn't see clearly the strength gap between the two sides. I regret it now. I was so stupid, really." Tai Long finished speaking with a look of regret, and quietly glanced at Han Yu. Seeing that he did not react, he breathed a sigh of relief and sat down. Wow! Many students turned to look at Zhou Yi, wanting to see how she would explain. Huo Yuhao and Wang Dong also looked at Han Yu in surprise, as if they did not expect Han Yu to do this. 200 eyes stared at Zhou Yi. Zhou Yi's forehead was slightly sweaty, but it did not flow out under the cover of the mask. "Teacher Zhou, do you think that student Tai Long's behavior is right or wrong? Fortunately, it is in the academy, and fortunately I am a kind person. If it is outside the school, if I meet a soul master with a better personality, I will beat him up at most. If I meet a soul master with a worse personality, I am afraid that student Tai Long will be in danger of his life. As a teacher, what do you think of this view?" The faint voice was not strong, but it made Zhou Yi feel that his back was almost wet with sweat. Zhou Yi rolled his eyes and said stubbornly, "You said it was in the academy. If such a thing happened outside the academy, there would naturally be strong people in the academy to help. If Tailong met with misfortune, the academy would also avenge him." "I understand, I have nothing to say." "Then go ahead and provoke him. Anyway, your life is yours. In the end, the academy will help you avenge. It's not a loss, right, classmates?" Han Yu smiled faintly and then sat down. "How can it not be a loss? If you have lost your life, what's the point of revenge?" A student whispered. 5 chapters updated today. Please read, collect and vote. Chapter 29 Arrogance. You are listening at novelfull.audio. I think what Han Yu said is right. If you're dead, what's the point of revenge? Why bother to cause trouble? If you think your life is too long, you might as well take medicine yourself. Another student agreed. The students below were talking about it. Zhou Yi's face turned pale and blue under the mask, which made her feel embarrassed. She slapped the table angrily. "Quiet, didn't you hear what I said? All of you go out and run laps. Those who can't finish the run will be expelled." Suddenly, the students who were already dissatisfied with Zhou Yi became even more dissatisfied. A student stood up instantly. "Teacher Zhou, I don't accept it. Why should we be punished if we don't cause trouble? Do we have to cause trouble to be your students?" Zhou Yi said angrily. "Because this is the rule I set, what I say is the truth. If you don't obey, you can leave now. I have the right to expel any student." After that, a terrifying aura emanated from her, and the 6 soul rings, 2 yellow, 2 purple and 2 black, burst out with a strong aura. The students who still wanted to resist were suppressed, and they went out to run laps honestly one by one. As all 97 students walked out, Zhou Yi's aura instantly focused on Han Yu. Han Yu's body stiffened slightly, and soon the Sharingan appeared, offsetting this aura. "Is Teacher Zhou trying to use her power to overwhelm others?" Han Yu said with a sneer on his face. He understood that this woman was completely a lunatic, a domineering egocentric. Zhou Yi's face changed, and the aura of the Soul Emperor came to an abrupt end, and her soul ring was also taken back into her body. "Humph. Now the 3 of you have to go out and run laps, just like them. If you can't finish the run, you will be expelled directly." Zhou Yi finished speaking and walked out of the classroom quickly. Huo Yuhao looked at Han Yu, who was calm and composed, and a trace of sarcasm flashed in his eyes. He was too stupid to provoke the head teacher on the first day of school. He threw a look at Han Yu and asked her to take care of herself, and then he pulled Wang Dong out. Wang Dong was about to speak when he was pulled by Huo Yuhao. "Why are you pulling me?" Wang Dong said with a puzzled look. "Are you really going to go running? What else can I do if I don't run? Are you going against the teacher? As a student, you have to listen to the teacher. Let's not worry about Han Yu. He has a bad temper. He offended the head teacher on the first day. He might even be expelled." Huo Yuhao pulled Wang Dong and whispered, it was not easy for him to enter the first college of this continent, and he didn't want to be implicated. Wang Dong. Teaching department. DouluoDalu looked at Han Yu in front of him with surprise. "Do you want to change classes?" Han Yu nodded and said, "Yes, I am not suitable for Zhou Yi's teaching plan. I apply for a class change. Any class is fine." DouluoDalu frowned and had a headache. He knew what happened. It was nothing more than Zhou Yi's high-pressure teaching that caused the student in front of him to be disgusted. He nodded helplessly. "Okay, go back first and finish this class. I will arrange for you to go to another class next time." Han Yu nodded. "Thank you, Director. Do I'll leave first?" Looking at Han Yu's departing back, DouluoDalu's mouth twitched. "Damn woman, if you didn't have a good husband, I would have killed you long ago, humph." Shrek Square. Zhou Yi looked at the students running circles below with satisfaction. It seems that Her Majesty is still there. Under Her Majesty, these students are still as obedient as dogs. After a round of inspection, Zhou Yi's face changed. She found that Han Yu was not in the square. Damn, this hateful thorn. Zhou Yi was in a bad mood. She hated this kind of thorny students the most. They were not obedient at all and made her lose face. It was not until all the students ran 50 or 60 laps that Han Yu came late. Zhou Yi said coldly, "Han Yu, where have you been? Why don't you come for a run?" Running. For Han Yu, who has been exercising in the sea water pressure since childhood, he really doesn't think much of this so-called running. Even if it is weighted, it doesn't improve him much. If the students in front of him train like this, I'm afraid many people will have sequelae. They may not be seen now, but after a long time, they will inevitably affect their bodies. Why should I run? Han Yu found a small stone pier in the square and sat down, waiting for this class to finish. He will change classes in the next class. "So, you are denying my teaching philosophy?" Zhou Yi said in a low voice with an ugly face. No. I am not denying your teaching philosophy, Teacher Zhou." Hearing this, Zhou Yi's face looked a little better, but before she could be happy, the next sentence directly broke her defense. "I just think it's rubbish. What's the point of such a training method? Shrek Academy was running 10,000 years ago, and it's still running 10,000 years later. Isn't there something new?" Han Yu raised his eyebrows, his tone somewhat disdainful. For some reason, he felt very happy after saying these words. Zhou Yi's chest rose and fell violently, his tone somewhat unkind. "This is the training method designated by Master Yu Shaojiang 10,000 years ago. After countless verifications, the strong men of Shrek are all produced in this way. Do you dare to say it's wrong? Tsk. Han Yu curled his lips. This kind of training can only be a survival of the fittest. Shrek has a large enrollment foundation. First, a group is eliminated, and then another group is screened out by assessment. In the end, those who remain are all the top geniuses on the continent, and then you can make them like this. You can change an ordinary person to see if you can train to achieve the desired effect. He has the current strength now. Although he has the help of the system, most of it is the result of his own hard work, soaking in the deep sea every day, training the body, and being beaten by the poison every day. If only running is useful. Wouldn't it be a joke if he worked so hard? Zhou Yi was panting like a cow, and was very angry at Han Yu's indifferent look. "I'll say it again, if you don't run, I will expel you. If you want to expel me, then expel me. I don't care. I came to Shrek Academy just to see if the teaching level of some colleges on the mainland is as good as the legend. Now it seems that it's just so. Han Yu sneered and said. Arrogant. Hearing this, Zhou Yi's eyebrows were raised and he shouted angrily. Han Yu shrugged and didn't comment. Looking at Han Yu's indifferent look, Zhou Yi also realized his own inappropriateness and loss of composure. After a moment of silence, he suddenly narrowed his eyes and said, "Did you just say that Shrek Academy is just like this? I'll give you a chance now. If you can survive an incense stick of time in my hands without using my soul skills, then this matter will be settled today. Otherwise, from now on, I will expel you. You can pack up and leave the academy. The academy will not accept students like you who don't obey orders." Point 5 chapters updated today. Please read, collect, and vote. Chapter 30 Sidori. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Hearing this, Han Yu scratched his head, stood up from Xiao Sherdun and walked slowly towards the dormitory. A flash of disdain flashed in his dark eyes, and he seemed to ponder for a while before speaking calmly. "I said however, if you want to be expelled, you can be expelled, it's up to you, Shrek Academy, it doesn't matter if you don't wait. You." Zhou Yi gritted her teeth and stamped her feet fiercely. She didn't expect that the tricks she had tried so well in the past didn't work when she came to Han Yu. Is the boy in front of me really only a teenager? The biggest difference between Han Yu and others is that he didn't really join Shrek Academy in the first place, he just came to take a look out of curiosity. How could he, the direct disciple of the Numenon Sect's leader and the future Numenon Sect's leader, so favor Shrek Academy? And he didn't rely on Shrek Academy to become stronger, the system and the sect were his retreat, so naturally he is not afraid of this so-called expulsion. Other students might be afraid, but it is of no use to Han Yu. "Humph. I think you are a waste. You don't dare to fight me unless I use my soul power. I think you are worse than a waste." Looking at Han Yu's leaving figure, Zhou Yi became anxious and immediately spoke out words of encouragement. Waste? Han Yu didn't really care at first, but the woman in front of him kept talking about it again and again. "The clay figurine has a certain amount of anger, let alone the cold rain. I didn't want to cause trouble, but you insist on humiliating yourself. And you don't need soul skills. Who are you looking down on? If you use soul skills, I might not be able to defeat you, but..." Han Yu slowly turned around and stared at Zhou Yi, and said solemnly, "In that case, it's as you wish." Zhou Yi saw Han Yu finally taking the bait, a trace of pride flashed in his eyes, his eyebrows raised upwards, he took out a stick of incense from somewhere, lit it and inserted it into a small tree trunk nearby, and said solemnly, "Let's get started then. Time is limited to 1 stick of incense." Han Yu didn't hesitate, the scarlet Sharingan appeared instantly, the 3 Magatama were spinning, a cold and evil aura was exuding, and 2 soul rings, 1 yellow and 1 purple, rose from his feet. What an evil aura, could he be an evil soul master? A thought flashed through Zhou Yi's mind. If Han Yu is really an evil soul master, seeing the matching of Han Yu's soul rings, Zhou Yi's pupils shrank, second ring of 1,000 years. A exclamation came out of her mouth, obviously shocked by Han Yu's configuration. "Humph. Even so, he is just a great soul master." That a flash of disdain flashed deep in Zhou Yi's eyes. He was the soul emperor, and the gap in cultivation was not that simple. Even if he didn't use soul skills, he was still strong enough to crush him. Chidori blade. Sizzle. A rich electric light surged from the sword, making a sound like the chirping of 1,000 birds. The azure light continued to swallow, like an electric snake that chose people to eat. Such a pure thunder attribute. Isn't he an evil soul master? But why does he have such an evil aura on his body? Isn't it possible that there will be backlash? Zhou Yi's eyes widened, somewhat incomprehensible. Thunder and lightning were specialized in restraining evil, but Han Yu actually had both attributes, which simply overturned her understanding. "Then, let's begin." A low voice sounded. Han Yu clenched the sword with his right hand, bent his right leg slightly, and then ran towards Zhou Yi quickly like an arrow from a bow. The speed was so fast that afterimages appeared in Zhou Yi's eyes, and for a moment it was impossible to tell who was real and who was fake. So fast. Which one is true? A flash of panic flashed in Zhou Yi's eyes. Years of coaching had caused her combat experience to decline significantly, and she was far inferior to the students who were also Soul Emperors. However, he was still a strong man at the Soul Emperor level. After a brief panic, he quickly calmed down and stared at the closest figure with his eyes. I saw the figure rushing towards me quickly, and then struck directly with a knife on the head. The blue blade cut through the air and ripples appeared. Zhou Yi's eyes narrowed, and he moved 2 steps to the side and quickly passed by. With his Soul Emperor level physical fitness, he was obviously much faster than Han Yu. At this time, the distance between the two people was about 3 meters. After missing a hit, Han Yu was not angry, smiled faintly, and swung the long knife in his hand quickly again. The cold light flickered, and under the infusion of soul power, the sword in his hand kept making crackling electric sounds. Humph. There is a huge difference in strength between you and me. You can't beat me. Zhou Yi smiled disdainfully. In her eyes, although Han Yu's talent was good, he was just a great soul master. Even if his soul ring configuration was very good, it was nothing more than that. A sneer appeared at the corner of Han Yu's mouth. He was as stupid as Dai Huabin, Chidori blade. Elongation. With a large amount of thunder attribute soul power injected into it, the azure blue light on the sword became thicker and thicker. The whole body was densely covered with thunder and lightning, intertwined with each other. Sparks were constantly generated, and harsh thunder roared. Stab. The sound of flesh being cut was heard, and Zhou Yi's eyes were full of disbelief as he looked at the wound on his arm. The very short thing suddenly became longer in her eyes, and then it was stabbed at her. She did not dodge in time, causing her arm to be scratched, and traces of blood continued to drip from the wound. How about this move, Teacher Zhou? Han Yu sneered, looking at Zhou Yi who was covering her arms. A trace of disdain flashed in her eyes. A teacher from Shrek Academy, that's it. Humph. I was careless just now, and now I got tricked by you. The same move will never work again in my eyes. Zhou Yi raised her eyebrows and was quite unconvinced. When she thought that Han Yu had used the foreign object soul guide and the function of lengthening to catch him by surprise, he used this move to sneak attack her, and her true strength was revealed. Just a soul master. Foreign objects are always foreign objects. If you, a soul master, rely on soul guidance tools, you will never be able to become a great weapon. Zhou Yi said coldly, as if she had seen through Han Yu's trump card. Foreign object. Soul guide. Han Yu's mouth twitched. She didn't expect Zhou Yi, as a teacher, to be so short-sighted. If it was according to what she said, when humans use tools, aren't they also foreign objects? Human beings are called the spirit of all things because they make tools through wisdom. If you throw away your tools, you are no better than a wild monkey. You can never wake up someone who is pretending to be asleep. The summer insects don't speak of the ice, and the well frogs don't speak of the sea. Han Yu shook his head, not intending to say anything more to her. He slowly put away the sword in his hand and inserted it into his back. Why, I found out, so you gave up the soul guide. Zhou Yi's mouth curved, with a hint of ridicule on his face. Han Yu was too lazy to pay attention to him. He squatted on the ground and held his left wrist with his right hand. Sizzle. Blue thunder and lightning appeared in his left hand, and a sound sounded like 1,000 birds playing music. Chidori. A low voice sounded, and Han Yu was like a thunder god controlling thunder and lightning, and the thunder and lightning on his left hand creaked. With a sharp tip of his toe, he rushed towards Zhou Yi not far away like an arrow from a bow. What is this? His soul ring is obviously not bright. 0.5 chapters updated today. Everyone, please read it, collect it, vote for it. In addition, I would like to thank the brothers who sent monthly tickets and the brothers who recommended tickets. There are too many people and your names are too complicated, so I won't thank you one by one. When I saw your votes, I was instantly fired up. Thanks again.